You would think that if I spend $550 on the DJI FPV goggles, I wouldn't have to spend another $700 on a DJI Smart Controller just because I want video output through the USB cable. We know that USB-C can carry HDMI video signals. You plug a USB-C to HDMI adapter into your phone, it'll work. You plug it into your laptop, it'll probably work. You plug it into the DJI goggles and nothing happens. But the DJI goggles can output video over the USB cable. And that's why when you plug it into this smart controller, boom, you have video. And the smart controller has HDMI output. So if you're like the kind of person, like a professional or an amateur who wants to put HDMI out to a device, it is doable for $700 stinking dollars. That's why today I am super excited to look at this device. This is the AxisFlying Box, and it can do exactly what the DJI Smart Controller does, but it does it for only $200, which some people are going to say is dumb because there's actually a free open source program that this is based on. Is it ripping it off? We'll talk about that. And you can just display it on your Android phone or your laptop. We're going to look at all of that, and we're going to decide which of these is the best option for you. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. The AxisFlying Box in this video was sent to me by AxisFlying. I did not purchase it with my own money. I have not received any cash or other forms of compensation in exchange for this video, and nobody has had any pre-approval or conditions on the contents of this video before it was released. I know that almost nobody who's watching this video is going to pay $700 for a DJI Smart Controller just to get USB to HDMI out from their goggles. So I'm going to start by showing you how it works so that you can then see how the other options stack up. And what we do is we're going to start the FPV Live app. So then I'm going to take a standard USB-A to USB-C cable and plug it in the top of the smart controller, and we'll plug it into the USB port on the goggles, and then nothing will happen because cable. Are you kidding me? So one thing I did check is, in order for any of this stuff to work, you have to have the low power temperature protection turned off in the goggles. If the goggles are in low power mode, will not work reliably. And that's true for the smart controller. It's true for any of the other stuff. They all actually use the same interface to get the video out from the goggles. That is a little bit of the background of the story is that someone reverse engineered or just discovered the way that DJI does, there we go, now it's working, the way that DJI does the video out, and then they just built it into an open source project. So really, other than the hardware, there's nothing that's different about any of the other stuff we're going to see in this video compared to the smart controller. But anyway, here's the smart controller, and as you can see, it's not completely problem-free either, but now that it's working, it'll probably keep working. We've got the video here. If we want to, we've got an HDMI bridge to output to HDMI for video capture, or if you're a professional, you can feed that into the video village so the director of photography can see what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Now, the free open source project is hosted at the website FPVOut.com. That's what we're looking at right now. And once they unlocked the ability to get video out of the goggles, then a whole bunch of different people started taking that in different directions. So one of the things we can look at is the DigiView app for Android. So here's the DigiView app in the Android store, and we'll go ahead and open it up, and it just says, please connect goggles. By the way, sorry people running Apple phones. Apple is just way too locked down, and the FPVOut developers say they just can't do this on an iOS device. Nothing personal. Argue with Apple if you don't like it. Now, you might think that all we have to do is plug in a USB-C to USB-C cable and make this work. And I think on some phones it works, but according to the wiki, it doesn't work on all phones. And I know for a fact it doesn't work on my phone because I tried it before I recorded this and it didn't work. So we're going to be using a USB OTG adapter. I'll put a link to these down in the video description if you want to pick one up. It's just a little adapter that makes stuff like this work sometimes. And that's going to plug, the adapter is going to plug into the phone. And in just a second, we'll get video. just like that. Now you're going to immediately have some questions, I think, and one of them is, why do I not see the on-screen display? It's just not output. The DJI goggles don't output those over their USB video feed. That's true for the official DJI Smart Controller. It's true for everything. So no OSD in the feed. Nothing we can really do about that. Other than that, though, we've just got this video out from the goggles, and we can do whatever we want with it. Now, except you can't fly with it. So the latency of this is, let me just do something in the video editing to demonstrate the latency. You should have what you need, right, editor? This is, let me just the latency is too high for flight. So this is going to be only for spectating, recording, and observing, not for actually flying off of. But now we've got it. Oh, and by the way, if you're intrigued by the DigiView app, but you're wondering how you can get HDMI output, haha! I almost forgot about this. This is a little USB, HDMI, and power charging adapter you can get for your phone. I'll put a link to it down in the video description. It just plugs into your phone, and I'm told that it will give you HDMI out. I haven't tested this yet. So HDMI, bada bing. Oh, ha, oh, oh, Samsung knows something's there. I don't want no Samsung DeX though. No. Samsung, stop being smart. USB to the goggles. USB. Waiting for video. That's a good sign. Something's going on with the DigiView app where it's not catching the video from the goggles. I'm not 100% sure why. Oh, there it is. Whoop, we got it. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, HDMI out. You concerned with that? Boom. This little guy. It's not that expensive. I don't remember how much it is, but it's not that expensive. Boom. You got HDMI out from your phone. Bada bing. And if we go back to the FPVOut website, we can see that the Android app is just one of many ways that you can utilize this feed. So there's a version for single board computers like Raspberry Pi. There's a version even on the web. If you had a laptop or a computer, you can literally bring up a web browser, run this code in your web browser, plug the goggles into your USB port on your computer, boom, and see it on the screen. Then you could do whatever. You could use OBS to stream it. In fact, there's even some other projects I know of that are specifically building OBS plugins to allow you to directly import the goggle feed as like a virtual camera in OBS. There's all kinds of crap you can do here, but the gist of it is the same. You plug USB in and you get the video feed out. And that brings us to this device from AxisFlying. Now, it would be easy to describe this as just a more pared down version of the DJI Smart Controller with a USB input that goes to the goggles and an HDMI output that goes to your display, but it's actually a lot more than that. The AxisFlying Box is powered by 9 to 20 volts via a USB-C connector. You can charge it off of any quick charge compatible USB adapter. There's a power button on front of the box that turns it on. And it comes with this HDMI to mini HDMI cable. That's a nice braided cable, so that's nice to see. We'll plug in that mini HDMI here on the back of the device, and then yeah, we're gonna need a display. Fortunately, I have one of these field monitors with an HDMI input. There we go. And immediately we're going to start seeing a signal coming from the box. And that starts to get at the reasons it's more than just a smart controller or just an HDMI bridge. But let's power up the goggles and let's just at least see this work. Goggles powered up. Oh, that's what the USB-C to USB-C cable is for. It's for the goggles. It's not for power. So, you know, mental note, the AxisFlying Box does not come with any power capability. You're going to use an existing USB quick charger, which you probably have, or you'll have to get one. We'll plug in USB-C here. Is there something I need to do to make it work? Let's try powering it down and powering it up again with everything plugged in. 2, 3, 4. Plug in and power up. Oh, there we go. Maybe it only detects the display on power up. I don't know. Oh, fancy. Very fancy. Well, I wish this was a touchscreen or it had a joystick on board, but it doesn't. Here we come to the fact that this is more than just a USB to HDMI bridge, because it's actually a little mini computer. It's not a Raspberry Pi. It's some other similar little mini computer, and it does more than just display images. But what I'm running into now is that it looks like it's not just immediately like powering up and ready to display. Ready, go! Surely it should auto detect that, and there we go. Okay, so I had to unplug and replug it. Surely it should auto detect that, and yeah, well, similar latency doesn't really matter because you're not going to use it for real time anyway. There we go. We've got HDMI output to a display or a capture device or whatever we want. Yeah, so this is actually a little mini computer. You can plug in a keyboard and a mouse, or you can use a wireless keyboard and mouse if you prefer. And like currently, it's got Betaflight configurator on it. You can plug your flight controller into it. Dang it! I'm gonna go get a mouse. All right, I found a wired mouse. I guess you could use a Bluetooth mouse probably, but how would you set that up? All right, let's plug this in. Let's see if we got, oh, there we go. All right, so let's just go back to the main screen. Yeah, waiting for video, thanks. I'm gonna drop out here. Boom, boom. Settings, no, I don't want settings. Can I go back to the desktop? No. What if I unplug video? Boom, now surely, no. Do I need a power cycle? Once it goes into this mode, how do you... What's Control-Alt-Delete for Linux? Control-Alt-Delete. What if I just power cycle the damn thing? Oh, there we go. Oh, it gave up. Woohoo! So, let's see what else we got here. Settings. That looks real familiar. So here's where we could add a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse. We could even put it on the Wi-Fi if we prefer. Nice preferences. No, that's not. Yeah, that's not a lot there. If I hit escape, does it back out? You really would think it would. No. Where's the dang back key then? Backspace. Left arrow. Oh, the arrows are doing something. Come on, why does he escape? Just click away. No. How do you enter? No. Right click. Oh, there we go. Right click. Right click backed me out, I think. Betaflight configurator. Ooh, can I really? This is Betaflight configurator. Alright, so get a quadcopter. And we will plug the quadcopter into the, oh no. I'm out of USB ports. Because I'm using a USB for my keyboard and my mouse. Okay. Let's unplug one of them. Unplug the keyboard. Oh, and connecting, and holy crap, we just got Betaflight running on a little freaking computer. Oh, there you go. Double right click seems to back you out. Okay, now I wouldn't blame you if you were looking at all this nonsense and thinking that's a big freaking mess. But hang on. This is not really the intended use case. The most basic use case for the box is that you power it up, you plug in USB, you plug in HDMI, and then you just have a USB to HDMI adapter for your goggles, and then you feed that HDMI feed wherever you want it to be. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can plug in a monitor with touchscreen support. I don't have one of those, so I couldn't demo it for you, but it does support touchscreen. AxisFlying has demonstration videos where they're simply tapping on screen. It has a pop-up keyboard and so forth. So you don't technically need a keyboard and mouse. If you choose to use it with a keyboard and mouse, or you could get one of those little wireless keyboards with a built-in touchpad, which would be much more easy to use in the field than a full keyboard and mouse. You can do a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, or you can plug into USB, but Bluetooth is probably the way to go, and that frees up these USB ports for things like plugging in quadcopters. We also have to point out that the box has a DisplayPort output in addition to an HDMI output, and you can use both of those at the same time. So if you were going to do dual screens, one to a screen that spectators were watching and one to a DVR that's recording the feed, you certainly could do that. Now there's one more thing that we have to talk about before we get to the conclusion of the video, and that is the relationship between AxisFlying and the DigiView project. Because when AxisFlying first released this, some people said they are stealing the free open source work of the FPVOut project, and then they're charging money for it, and it's wrong, and we're mad, and we don't like it, and that is not the case. They actually, AxisFlying and the DigiView project actually worked together on this. They work together. They are friends. They are hand in hand. The developers of the DigiView project or the FPVOut project, they are not upset about this, and in fact they're happy that this is going on, and they welcome other people to do it as well. So there's no concern there. If you feel like buying this, you can do it with a clear conscience. I don't know what it might be going on behind the scenes, whether they're giving them a cut or not, but the bottom line is that the devs who made this possible are happy. So that brings us to the end of the video, and as always, the question, which one should you buy? And a lot of people are going to have to be asking themselves, why would I pay for anything when I could use something that I already have? In fact, I've even seen people on Facebook asking, what is the cheapest Android tablet I can buy that will run DigiView? And you spend $80 or something on a I don't know, but you spend $80 on a cheap Walmart Android tablet, it runs the DigiView, and then you at least have a spectator screen. But you don't have the ability to do the HDMI bridge. Hey there, Joshua from the future. That's not true. At the time that I recorded this, I had not tested that HDMI and USB dongle for my phone, and then after I finished recording the video, I was like, oh yeah, I bought that thing months ago. Let's see if it works. So in fact, if you buy the cheap $80 Android tablet and use DigiView, and then you spend whatever, $30 or whatever it is for this HDMI USB adapter, all linked in the video description, you can get a spectator screen and HDMI out all in one device. When it comes to professionals though, the big question is, should you get the DJI Smart Controller or should you get the AxisFlying Box? And that's a little tougher because the Smart Controller, okay, it's $700. Some professionals are going to be able to roll that into their sort of cost of doing business and consider that I did, because the DigiView project didn't used to exist, and this was the only way to live stream DJI. I wouldn't buy this today. I would buy this, and I would use it for live streaming, but I already own this, so there's a lot to be said for the fact that this is completely self-contained. If you decide to use the DigiView box in the field, you're going to need to rig up some kind of a battery pack. You're going to need to bring a screen potentially, and you're going to need to sort of build that all together into something cohesive and easy to handle. There's a lot to be said for the fact that the Smart Controller it's just completely self-contained. Boom, plug in, power on, and go. Hand it to the director, hand it to a spectator, whoever. You're ready to go. That being said, you can do a lot with the $500 that you're going to save buying the AxisFlying Box compared to the Smart Controller. And the AxisFlying Box does a lot more than just output HDMI. It's got Betaflight configurator built in today, but it's a full-fledged computer. So as apps, hopefully we'll see AxisFlying adapt more apps, and maybe there'll even be some kind of third-party like app store where people could add apps to it, and then we could see what BL Heli, web browser, media player. I think a media player already exists. I mean, it's just a little computer. It could do really anything you can imagine. If you decide that these are the products for you, I've got links down in the video description. Links to the DigiView project. I'll find out what's the cheapest easiest to get Android tablet that'll let you do DigiView. I'll put a link to that down in the video description as well as the AxisFlying. And bear in mind, there's several different versions of this AxisFlying box. This by itself has been tested to run at 25 degrees Celsius for 24 hours without overheating. But if you are going to be in an area that's hotter than that, they do sell a version with a fan, and I believe they've also got some bundles where they sell it with a screen if you're looking to get one with a touch screen. I'll even put a link to the DJI Smart Controller, because all of these links are, most of these links, if not all of them, are affiliate links. And what that means is that I get a small commission if you click the link and then make any purchase at the affiliated vendor. It's an easy way for you to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything just by clicking that link, and then you fill your card up and you check out. And you do, when you do that, the vendor then just says, "Thank you, Joshua," and gives me a little bit of a cut. And on something like a $700 Smart Controller, that really adds up. But every little bit counts, and I sure do appreciate it. What do you think? $200. Worth it? Or should, you're just going to go out and build a Raspberry Pi of your own and say, it's a ripoff? Thanks for watching. Happy flying.
Patrons are the people who make all this possible. Not to disrespect you, because you're watching all the way to the end, which really helps the analytics. So I guess without you watching, none of this would be possible. But if you would subscribe or join my Patreon, $2 a month or more, it's up to you, or at the very least, leave a comment or click the affiliate links and do the show. Isn't it a beautiful day? Man, the lighting looks good out here. What's up, y'all? Out for a walk.